The voicemail was already 3 months old when I finally listened to it. Of everything that happened afterward, the lies, the mine, the voices, the thing beneath Ash Creek. That is the part one still can't forgive myself for. Not the blood, not the dead, not even what I eventually found underground. The voicemail. Because if I had listened to it sooner, my brother might still be alive. I found it at 1:47 a.m. I couldn't sleep again. Rain hammered against my apartment windows while I sat in the kitchen, deleting spam messages and old notifications that had piled up for weeks. Unknown number. 3 minutes. 11 seconds. March 18th. Tyler disappeared on March 19th. At first I almost deleted it. Then something made me stop. Maybe guilt. Maybe instinct. Maybe because missing people never really leave your thoughts. They just become quieter. I pressed play. Static crackled through the speaker. Then breathing. Heavy. Uneven. Someone trying desperately not to panic. My stomach tightened. Then I heard my brother. Danny. His voice sounded wrong immediately. Not drunk. Not emotional. Terrified. If you hear this, don't come looking for me. Every muscle in my body locked. Behind him I could hear wind moving through trees. Metal clanged somewhere far away. And underneath everything else, another sound. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Following him. Tyler stopped talking. For several seconds all I heard was breathing. Then he whispered, "They know where you live now." A sharp metallic crash echoed somewhere behind him. Tyler sucked in a breath. Like he just turned around. Like he'd seen something. The message ended. No goodbye. No explanation. Nothing. Just silence. I replayed it again. And again. And again. The fourth time I noticed something that made my skin crawl. Another voice. Buried beneath the static. Faint. Almost impossible to hear. But it was there. Repeating Tyler's words. A fraction of a second behind him. Like an echo that shouldn't exist. I listened until sunrise. By morning my coffee had gone cold, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Everyone believed Tyler left voluntarily. That was the official story. Drug relapse. Debt. Mental breakdown. People chose whichever explanation required the least effort. Small towns survive on simple answers. Complicated truths make people nervous. Especially in Pennsylvania. Especially in places where everybody knows everybody and families have protected each other's secrets for generations. Tyler wasn't perfect. God knows he wasn't. But he didn't disappear. Not like that. He called our mother every Sunday morning. He sent stupid memes at 2 in the morning. He still carried cash because he thought banks were secretly stealing from people. People like Tyler don't quietly erase themselves. Not overnight. At least that's what I kept telling everyone. Eventually nobody listened. Then after enough months passed, I stopped listening too. That's the ugliest thing grief does. It exhausts you. Hope becomes heavier than acceptance. By June everyone had moved on. The police stopped returning calls. Mom stopped bringing him up. Even Tyler's ex-girlfriend started referring to him in the past tense. Only I kept searching. Missing person forums. Reddit threads. Old police reports. Every night. Like a gambler feeding quarters into a broken machine. Then the voicemail appeared. 3 months late. Waiting. The number was disconnected. No records. No location. Nothing. But one thing kept bothering me. The date. March 18th. The night before he vanished. Tyler knew something was coming. And instead of calling police, he called me. Why? By noon I was driving back to Ash Creek. The town looked exactly the same. Same cracked sidewalks. Same diners. Same faded storefronts. Same feeling that nothing had changed there in 30 years. The gas station clerk recognized me immediately. Danny Mercer. He smiled. Thought you escaped. Still trying. His smile faded. People always lowered their voices when Tyler came up. Like they were discussing a funeral. Mom's house sat near the abandoned railroad tracks on the edge of town. I noticed Tyler's truck before I even parked. Still sitting beside the garage. Covered in dust and pollen. Something about that hurt more than the voicemail. Because people leave. But they don't leave their truck. Mom opened the door before I knocked. You should have called. That was her version of hello. She looked smaller. Grief had hollowed her out. I followed her into the kitchen. The house smelled like coffee and old wood. Exactly as it always had. Then I played the voicemail. Halfway through, all the color drained from her face. Not sadness. Fear. Real fear. When it ended, she sat down slowly. Her hands trembled. You know something? No. You do. She stared toward the sink for nearly a minute. Finally, she whispered, Your father got a call like that once. The room seemed to shrink. What? Years ago. What kind of call? She rubbed her hands together. The kind that changes people. I felt a chill move through me. Dad worked maintenance at Black Ridge Mine before it closed. Nobody in Ash Creek liked talking about Black Ridge, especially the older miners. Officially, the collapse killed 3 workers. Unofficially, nobody could ever agree on the number. Dad never discussed it. Ever. Whenever Tyler and I asked questions as kids, he'd shut us down immediately. Nothing down there worth finding. Every single time. Now Mom looked terrified just mentioning it. What does Black Ridge have to do with Tyler? She hesitated, then said something strange. Did he ever tell you about the recordings? I frowned. What recordings? Instant regret crossed her face. The kind that appears when someone accidentally opens a door they meant to keep shut forever. After 20 minutes of pushing, she finally told me. 6 months before disappearing, Tyler became obsessed with Black Ridge Mine. He interviewed retired miners, collected newspaper clippings, recorded conversations, trespassed onto the abandoned property. Twice. At first everyone assumed it was another conspiracy theory. Then Tyler came home bleeding one night. That got my attention. Bleeding. Mom nodded. He said someone followed him. What happened? He wouldn't tell me. Instead, he locked himself inside Dad's old workshop. Every night, hours at a time, listening to something through headphones. 1 week later, he vanished. I stood up immediately. The recordings. Mom looked away. That was answer enough. The garage key still hung beside the laundry room, exactly where Dad always left it. The workshop smelled untouched. Oil, dust, rust, old wood. Dad's tools remained perfectly organized along the walls, frozen in time. But Tyler's research stood out instantly. Maps, photographs, newspaper clippings, interview transcripts, and sitting in the middle of the workbench, 7 cassette tapes. No labels except handwritten names. Tunnel C, Shift 14, The Knocking, Missing Man. I picked one up, then noticed another tape sitting alone. Older, different handwriting, only one word written across it. Listen, my father's handwriting. I knew it immediately. Suddenly I understood why Mom looked afraid. Dad knew something. Tyler found it, and now Tyler was gone. I inserted the cassette. Press play. Static filled the workshop. Then Dad's voice emerged. Younger, shaking. If anyone hears this, silence. A long breath. Then, it means they opened the lower tunnel again. My blood ran cold. Somewhere in the background, I heard a faint sound. Knocking. Deep underground knocking. Slow. Rhythmic. Like someone trapped beneath miles of earth. Dad continued speaking. There were never 3 bodies. Another knock echoed. Louder. Closer. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. We should have buried it deeper. The recording crackled. The knocking stopped, and Dad said 6 words that would change everything. It learned how to use voices. The tape cut out. Silence flooded the garage. I stared at the recorder, trying desperately to invent a rational explanation. Then something answered from beneath the concrete floor. Knock, 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 directly underneath me. The knocks came again. 3 slow impacts beneath the garage floor. Knock, knock, knock. I didn't move. For several seconds, I simply stood there staring at the concrete, waiting for my brain to explain it. Pipes, foundation shift, old plumbing, anything. But deep down, I already knew something was wrong. Because the knocks were rhythmic, deliberate, patient, like someone waiting for an answer. Mom appeared in the doorway. The moment she saw my face, she knew. Then the knocking came again. Her expression collapsed. Not surprise. Recognition. That frightened me more than the sound itself. You heard it, I said. She didn't answer. Mom. Her eyes drifted toward the floor. I told your father to fill it in. The room suddenly felt colder. Fill what in? No answer. I stepped closer. What is under this garage? She opened her mouth, then closed it again, like someone standing at the edge of a confession too large to make. Finally, she whispered. He promised me it was sealed. The knock stopped. Silence settled over the workshop, and somehow that silence felt worse. I looked around the room again. Really looked. The workbench. The shelves. Dad's tools. Tyler's notes. Then I noticed something I had missed before. Scratches. Long scrape marks across the concrete floor, leading toward the back wall. Fresh. Not 20 years old. Recent. My pulse quickened. Tyler moved something. I followed the marks. Mom immediately stepped forward. Danny, what did he find? Leave it alone. What did he find? Her eyes filled with fear. Not for herself. For me. That scared me even more. I reached the back wall. An old shelving unit stood there beneath dusty tarps. Paint cans. Boxes. Rusting tools. Enough junk to hide almost anything. The scrape marks disappeared beneath it. My stomach tightened. Tyler had moved this. I knew it. Slowly, I grabbed one side of the shelving unit and pushed. Metal screamed against concrete. Mom gasped. The shelf shifted several inches. Then I saw it. A steel hatch, built directly into the floor. Rust covered most of its surface, but fresh scratches surrounded the edges. Someone had opened it recently. Someone had gone below. Tyler. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Rain tapped softly against the garage roof. The tape recorder sat silent on the workbench, waiting, watching. I crouched beside the hatch. The handle was muddy. Fresh mud. Not old dust. Not rust. Mud. The kind that came from underground. You knew. Mom closed her eyes. Your father made me promise. Promise what? That if anything ever started again. Her voice cracked. We'd never open it. Start again. Not happened. Started. As if whatever existed below had never truly ended. I wrapped my fingers around the handle. Immediately, Mom grabbed my wrist. Hard. Danny. I looked up. For the first time since arriving home, she seemed genuinely terrified. Your father wasn't afraid of the mine. What was he afraid of? A tear slid down her cheek. He was afraid of hearing your voice. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? He said it would learn eventually. I stared at her. Neither of us moved. Then, the power went out. Darkness swallowed the workshop. Mom screamed. Somewhere outside, thunder rolled across Ash Creek. The only light came from a single lantern hanging near the door. Its weak yellow glow barely reached the hatch. And from beneath the steel cover, something moved. Not knocking. Not digging. Movement. Slow. Dragging. Like something shifting deep underground. Every nerve in my body locked. Mom backed away immediately. Close your eyes. What? Close your eyes. The panic in her voice made my heart hammer. Then a sound drifted upward through the hatch. A voice. Very faint. Barely audible. At first I thought it was imagination. Then it came again. Danny. My blood froze. Tyler. It sounded exactly like Tyler. Weak. Distant. But unmistakably him. Mom began crying immediately. No. The voice returned. Danny, help me. I moved toward the hatch before I realized I was moving. My brother. My brother was down there. Alive. Every logical thought vanished instantly. Months of grief. Months of guilt. Months of unanswered questions. Gone. Replaced by a single desperate hope. Tyler. I dropped to one knee beside the hatch. The voice sounded closer now, as if whoever was speaking stood directly below us. Danny. Something felt wrong. Not the voice itself. The timing. Tyler never called me Danny. Not when we were alone. Not ever. He called me Dan. Always. My chest tightened. The realization hit like ice water. The voice came again. Danny, please. Perfect. Too perfect. Not a single hesitation. Not a single flaw. Like someone reading from a script. Then another voice spoke. A different voice. My father's. Directly beneath the hatch. Don't answer. Mom made a choking sound. I stumbled backward. Dad had been dead for 2 years. The hatch rattled. Once. Twice. Then stopped. Silence returned. A horrible silence. The kind that feels like something is listening. Then the tape recorder clicked on by itself. Static burst through the speaker. Dad's recorded voice filled the workshop. Older. Panicked. If you're hearing this, it already knows your name. The recording crackled. Heavy breathing. Distant metallic sounds. Then, it doesn't copy voices. A long pause. As though he was struggling to find the words. It copies people. I felt every hair on my arms rise. The recording continued. The voice is never the danger. Static. A loud crash. Someone shouting. Then Dad whispered. The danger is when it starts remembering things it should never know. The tape ended. Silence. Mom looked like she was about to collapse. Then we both heard it. A faint metallic ringing. Far below. A bell. 3 slow chimes. The sound echoed upward through the darkness. Mom's face turned white. The warning bell. What warning bell? She stared at the hatch. The miners rang it whenever someone answered. My heartbeat stopped. Answered. Not followed. Not approached. Answered. As though a single conversation was enough. As though words themselves mattered. Then another voice drifted up from below. Quiet. Broken. Almost impossible to hear. Not Tyler this time. A stranger. Help us. A second voice joined it. Then a third. Then dozens. Whispers overlapping beneath the earth. Men. Women. Children. Hundreds of voices speaking at once. All begging. All crying. All calling for someone. The hatch vibrated softly. Not from impact. From movement. Something beneath it was breathing. And, for the first time since finding the voicemail, I understood something. Whatever had taken Tyler wasn't simply hiding underground. It was waiting. Patiently. Listening. Learning. And now it knew I'd come looking. Nobody spoke for almost a minute. The whispers continued beneath the hatch. Hundreds of voices. Some crying. Some laughing. Some begging. The sound rose and fell like distant waves. Then all at once it stopped. Complete silence. The kind of silence that feels deliberate, like something is holding its breath. Waiting. Watching. Listening. Mom grabbed my arm. We need to leave. I couldn't stop staring at the hatch. What if he's really down there? Her grip tightened. Danny, what if Tyler's alive? The question hung between us. Because neither of us truly knew. That was the worst part. Not knowing. Not being able to bury him. Not being able to save him. Just existing in that endless space between hope and grief. Then a voice drifted up from below. Quiet. Weak. Almost broken. Mom. She froze. Every muscle in her body locked. The voice came again. Mom, please. I watched the color drain from her face. It wasn't Tyler. It was me. My voice. 12 years old. The voice of a frightened kid. The voice from a night Dad forgot to pick me up after baseball practice. The night I sat alone in the rain for 3 hours. The night Mom spent years apologizing for. I had never told anyone how terrified I'd been. Not even Tyler. Yet the thing below knew. Mom backed away from the hatch immediately. Tears filled her eyes. Close it. The voice continued. Perfect. Every word. Every breath. Every tiny crack of fear. Mom, where are you? I felt sick. The thing wasn't copying sounds. It was copying memories. The realization settled into my stomach like lead. And suddenly Dad's recording made sense. The danger isn't the voice. The danger is when it remembers things it should never know. A loud metallic clang echoed far below. The bell again. 3 slow chimes. Then silence. The whispers vanished completely, as though something underground had decided the conversation was over. For now. I slammed the hatch shut. The instant the steel cover hit the floor, the atmosphere in the room changed. The pressure lifted. The silence felt normal again. Mom collapsed into a chair, shaking. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered. Your father answered at once. I looked up. What? Her eyes remained fixed on the floor. Only once. The rain battered the roof above us. He heard his brother. I frowned. Dad never had a brother. At least none that I knew about. Mom noticed my expression. Exactly. The room suddenly felt much colder. What do you mean? She swallowed. Your father had an older brother named Michael. I stared at her. No. Nobody talks about him anymore. Why? Because she already knew the answer. Because everyone in Ash Creek already knew the answer. He disappeared. My chest tightened. When? 1987. The year Black Ridge broke into the lower tunnels. I sat down slowly. Suddenly dozens of strange, childhood memories clicked together. Family photographs with missing people. Conversations that stopped when children entered rooms. Grandma crying every Christmas. Dad refusing to discuss his childhood. The pieces had always existed. I just never knew where they belonged. Mom continued. Michael vanished underground. The rain outside seemed louder now. 3 months later, your father heard him calling from mine. I felt my pulse quicken. What happened? He followed the voice. A long silence. When they found him, he was sitting alone in Tunnel C. I remembered one of Tyler's tapes. Tunnel C. The same name. The same place. He kept saying Michael was alive. Mom's voice cracked. He spent years believing it. The realization hit me immediately. Dad wasn't afraid because he saw a monster. Dad was afraid because he wanted to believe. The thing preyed on grief. On regret. On unfinished goodbyes. It didn't hunt people. It tempted them. That was far worse. The workshop suddenly felt suffocating. I needed answers. Real answers. Not recordings. Not family secrets. Answers. I gathered Tyler's tapes into a box. Mom watched silently. You can't go down there. I looked at the hatch, then at the tapes, then at the voicemail saved on my phone. March 18th, the day before Tyler vanished. One question had haunted me since the beginning. Why did he call me? Not Mom. Not the police. Me. There had to be a reason. I picked up the tape, labeled The Knocking. The cassette clicked into place. Static filled the workshop. A few seconds later, Tyler's voice emerged. My heart nearly stopped. Not a copy. Not a whisper. Actually, Tyler. Recorded months ago. You hearing this, Dan? Dan. Not Danny. Dan. The way only my brother said it. Immediately, I knew it was real. Tyler sounded exhausted. Scared. But real. Something's wrong with the voices. I leaned closer. The recording crackled. I thought it was copying people. A long pause. Then, it's not. Every muscle in my body tightened. Tyler inhaled sharply, like he was afraid someone might hear him. I think they're still in there. The workshop became silent, except for the tape. What do you mean? I whispered. Of course the recording didn't answer. Tyler continued. I heard Dad. A pause. And he knew things the creature shouldn't know. My pulse hammered. I asked him something nobody else knew. Static. Then Tyler's breathing. Shaking. Terrified. He answered correctly. I stared at the recorder. The implications were horrifying. Because there were now only two possibilities. Either the thing knew every secret a person had ever carried, or some part of the missing people still existed inside it. The tape crackled violently. Then Tyler whispered something so quietly I almost missed it. If I disappear. Another pause. I need you to remember this. I leaned closer. Every nerve in my body burning. The next words changed everything. The voices are trying to warn us. A chill raced down my spine. Not lure. Warn. The recording continued. They aren't all the same. My heartbeat thundered. What does that mean? Static swallowed several seconds. Then Tyler spoke again. And, for the first time in the entire recording, he sounded truly terrified. Some of them are trapped. Silence. Then, one final sentence. If you go below. The tape hissed loudly, as though something was interfering. Don't trust the first voice that knows your name. The recording ended. At that exact moment, someone knocked on the garage door. 3 times. Knock. 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 Every hair on my body stood up, because it was the exact same rhythm. The same rhythm from beneath the hatch. Mom looked toward the door. I did too. Neither of us moved. Then a familiar voice came from outside. A voice I hadn't heard in years. Danny. An old man's voice. Shaky. Nervous. Human. I know you found the tapes. Silence. Then, and if you're listening to them. A pause. You're already in danger. I slowly approached the window and saw an elderly man standing in the rain, holding a mining helmet, waiting, watching the house. The moment I recognized him, my stomach dropped, because every newspaper article about Black Ridge Mine listed him among the dead. Frank Delaney, missing since the collapse, 23 years ago. And somehow, he was standing in my driveway.